Hey guys, it's a beautiful day in Vancouver. I was checking out some bikes at City Cycles. They've got a bunch of locations around here, and I was asking the founder, Mark Moore, what's a popular bike for you? What are you selling a lot of? What's good for 2020? And he said, well, we've got the Cube Town Sport Hybrid 1 400. It's like one of our top sellers. And I was like, well, why? And he said, okay, well, it comes in 5 sizes, and we are looking at the smallest frame size right here, 42 centimeters. And each frame size is a little bit different. So you can actually see right here, normally there would be these seat stays. They would both connect to that seat tube right there. But they've actually cut one out on this size, the smallest frame size, so that you can access that PowerPack 400 more easily and drop that saddle all the way down. They've also swapped out the quick release seat clamp for just a tooled clamp. The point being, you can really lower that saddle. And I measured it, it's about 31.5 inches minimum saddle height, which is nice. That's a much more approachable, especially for a bike that has 700C 28-inch wheel diameter. That raises the whole bike, but it also gives you a lower attack angle, a little bit more air volume for some comfort. This is kind of standard bicycle wheel size. So for them to be really gearing this towards a smaller rider, someone who might need that lower standover height, really easy to step over that frame, and then still giving you full-size equipment, a really nice gear range here, 9 speeds, nice swept back handlebar, slightly shorter stem, right? So this one's a little bit shorter than if you got one of the larger frame sizes. That's really cool. Comfortable ergonomic grips. They are locking, so they're not going to twist on you. Hydraulic disc brakes. These are Shimano. They've got a dual piston calipers and a larger 180 millimeter rotor up front, 160 in the rear. A lot of your weight shifts forwards when you stop. You can imagine that the momentum, you're sort of slowing and kind of shifting forward. So you want the larger rotor at the front to handle that, to dissipate heat more quickly and to give you that mechanical advantage, especially over a larger wheel size like this. And then there's a lot of utility built into this bike. So plastic fenders, but fairly rigid. A lot of this stuff it's Cube branded, so this says Acid, and I've seen the Acid on a few other parts on this bike, and I think that's their like in-house, just kind of a fun, kind of a cool name, I guess. You know, it's a German company, so you know, I'm going through their website and I'm looking at all the specs and stuff on their EU site, and then they have a Canadian site, and some of the details were a little bit missing. So I spent a lot of time going through this by hand in the shop, and what I came away with was, again, really nice parts that they chose here. Thicker plastic, a little bit more rigid, so it's not going to bounce around as much. Nice black matching stays. These are support arms that they bolt right onto that suspension fork. Only 50 millimeters of travel on this, and this is kind of a basic fork, but you'll notice that it is also Cube branded. That's their logo. So this is SR Suntour NEX. I think it's E25. It does have preload adjust underneath these caps, but you have to pull them off and they can crack. I've done it on other bikes just to kind of like double check and be sure that that was a possibility, and it is. But most of the time, I just kind of leave them. I'm a lightweight guy, about 135 pounds. I don't need to preload the suspension more, like tighten those springs, because I don't weigh a lot. But it is an option, and it can be done, so that's something you might want to work with your shop to do. These are sold predominantly through shops, which means it's going to be dialed in just right, and they're going to be able to help you get fitted. They're going to let you, you know, choose the right frame size and maybe guide you towards the best frame size. This is clearly not the best frame size for me, but I wanted to highlight how the frame is slightly different. Now look at a lot of these little extra attention to detail. There's this sticker slap guard right here, and I guess it's more like a rock guard. They have a slap guard right here to keep that chain from, you know, clunking into that chainstay and chipping it up and messing up this nice satin black frame color. But up here, that's the same kind of thing for rocks that might fly off of your wheel. Now for me, it's kind of redundant because they've already got that really nice plastic fender. So I don't know, I just feel like Cube checks all the boxes. Same thing down here with the motor. They've got this plastic skid plate sort of surrounding and protecting the motor itself and really helping it to blend into the frame. Black is a really popular color for e-bikes because most of the accessories and components come in black by default. So we have these FS8 crank arms, 165 millimeters on these versus 170, which is standard. And I thought maybe that's just because it's a small frame size, but that's actually the case for all the bikes. So I don't know, maybe it's like the bottom bracket's slightly lower. The frame is probably higher because of these, you know, 28-inch wheels like we talked about. So for me, it was like, okay, you know, it's a little bit shorter. You're not going to get quite as much range when you're pedaling, but this is sort of a comfort town city hybrid bike, and it has the smaller Bosch PowerPack 400 versus the 500. So, you know, maybe this is about weight savings and value. Price point on this is $25.99 US dollars or $31.99 Canadian dollars. So it's fairly decent for a bike that's fully spec'd, right? We've got these integrated lights, AXA CL20E, 20 lux on this. It's got a really nice kind of a lens on the front with a slice, so it's aimed down, so you're not going to shine into the eyes of oncoming traffic or cyclists. It's got these windows on the side, so you're visible from the side. Same thing with the tires right here, reflective sidewall stripe. And these are Schwalbe. These are the Range Cruiser with the K-Guard 3. That's what I was looking for. So it does have puncture protection built in. You've got safety, which is a big deal. It's a black bike. Only comes in this one frame color, and that's not the most visible color, but it does look nice with, you know, blends in with the cables and all the components we talked about a minute ago. A lot of them are internally routed. You can see that right here going into that down tube. And, you know, for me, seeing stuff like this is extra frame strength. And then a slightly wider seat tube right there, and then that bottom bracket wider. It's really nice. This is Hydroformed, so they're forming the aluminum using high pressure water, and they're able to get these really cool smooth designs, but they're also able to use thicker tubing than just a standard circle. And what that does is gives it frame strength, and you're not getting that flex as much as you would on some other step throughs. And a lot of step throughs do suffer from frame flex, and you'll get like speed wobble at higher speeds. I have not experienced that at all with this frame, which is really nice. Even though, again, they're kind of compromising the integrity of the smallest frame with this unique cutout, I feel like it's still, you know, it's overdone. You can see there's this weld mark here and the wider seat tube and stuff. So I don't know the max weight rating on this particular frame, but I just feel pretty confident, especially with the other 4 frame sizes, that this bike is built pretty tough. So coming up here, you see these 2 bolts right here? This is where you could put a bottle cage. And for me, that's great. It's a little bit better than right here because you're not compromising the frame strength, and it's not so low that you're going to kick it. So this is really nice. Bottle cage bosses on this. We've got fender mounts. We've got rack mounts. We've got that chain protector, clear plastic, kind of smoked or black. Really a lot of, just so many things to appreciate on this bike. And then we've got this rear rack, which is also, it appears to be another custom cube part, right? This company's big enough to do some of their own stuff. We've got a clamp on top for just maybe a jacket or something really small and lightweight. We've got a nice, fairly flat, sturdy platform, so you could put a trunk bag. You could potentially do a child seat that would clamp on from the side. Yep has the like maxi next, which would be a good fit for this. And then pannier hangers on the side. They do flare out just a little bit. Really nicely done. It's beautiful in my opinion. I've seen a lot of racks where it's just like bold and chunky, and this is, it's balancing like a lightweight, kind of elegant look, but still very functional with that flared out design. Down here we have a bungee loop, so you can take a bungee cord and go over the top, maybe put a milk crate basket or just another kind of a simple clasp mechanism with a bungee cord. And we have the light. So up front we had an integrated light. In the rear we have another integrated light. This is a single LED, so it's, you know, just kind of checks the box, gets the job done. Same sturdy fenders. But what you'll notice is that it appears like the rack is freestanding. You don't see those messy looking like support arms right here. Instead, they've got a big thick piece of metal that goes under the fender and then bolts right there at this arch on the seat stays. So very sturdy, and it keeps this fender just super solid. It doesn't bounce at all. Like sometimes you'll see racks that are separate from the fender and the fender is like bouncing and rattling in the middle. That is not the case here at all. So this is really well done. I definitely appreciate it. I want to point out also, while we're back here, look at this rim. This is a fairly nice rim. It's double-walled aluminum alloy, and it has reinforcement eyelets. 36-hole front and rear. And I went with silver spokes, which, you know, it's kind of interesting because they've got black Shimano hubs. Everything else is black. And then they went with silver spokes, and that might be another visibility thing. I don't know if it's really a cost savings thing, because they went black everywhere else. So I wanted to point that out. We've got a few silver accents, the disc brake rotor, the stanchions right here on the suspension fork, that kind of stuff. And then look at it, we got a bunch of spacers here and stuff, still black. 3 10mm spacers, a 5mm spacer. So you could really dial this bike in. You could lower those handlebars. You could get a shorter stem if you want. But I kind of appreciate that they didn't go with like an adjustable angle stem, because this is going to be a lot sturdier. It's not going to loosen up over time. No, you're not going to be able to adjust it on the fly, but this is the kind of bike you buy it the right size, dial it in for whoever the owner is, and then it's just going to be tough. Like the fenders are tough. Nice rack. By the way, I think this is 55 pound, 25 kilogram max weighted. You know, nice saddle and stuff. If you were really looking for comfort and you've got that handlebar all dialed in, you got the grips and everything, the suspension set up just right, this saddle is also pretty nice. And I think this is, again, a cube. So they say it's a Shen, and it's got this like comfort, slightly wider. They call it Ponzo technology. I looked underneath this because a lot of times these are made by Velo or Selle Royale, but I didn't see any other markings. So this is just a cube saddle, but well done. And a pretty standard 27.2 millimeter seat post, 350 millimeters long. Now this is another area where you could get a suspension seat post and add another element of comfort, but it's going to raise that minimum saddle height by a few inches depending on the seat post suspension you get. Keep that in mind if you're small and you're getting the small frame. Apparently a lot of people will be looking at like folding electric bikes, which, you know, they're a little bit more weight and sometimes the frame integrity is compromised. They tend to cost more. But if you really don't need it to fold and you're just looking for something small, you get a lot of advantages if you can get a small bike like this that's set up and is designed to be approachable. So again, thinking back to my conversation with Mark, it seemed like a lot of, you know, petite people were like, well, you know, I don't really need the folding. I'd rather have a stiffer, you know, fully featured bike, and they go with this and it works pretty well. Just don't shoot yourself in the foot by getting a suspension seat post in that case, because you are going to raise the saddle height. And keep in mind that because this comes with a 350 millimeter or regular standard rigid post, you might have to use the hacksaw so that it goes all the way down because of some of the bolts and some of the hardware that's built in there. So I want to point out they've got a nice kickstand. It's got adjustable length right here. You can see the holes and stuff. We've put it all the way out so that it'll be a little bit more upright for the photos. Quick release front and rear on those wheels, going to make it easy to do maintenance or to pack this up and put it in the back of a car or a closet or something. Another proprietary part, this is a single bolt kickstand, whereas a lot of the other bikes I see, they have a, you know, 2-bolt, I think it's 18 millimeter pattern. It's kind of unique, again, and almost like frustratingly so. I suppose they did this because it fits their desire to have a rack support and, you know, hydraulic disc brake rotors and mount for the calipers, and that's the best place to put it, but it's not as standard. So it means that you're kind of going to have to sit with a cube replacement part someday. And then they're going with the fairly standard Bosch, that's the rear wheel speed sensor, and there's the magnet over there. Some of the newer ones, they've actually got the magnet and the sensor built like right onto the disc brake rotor mounts, so it's a little bit cleaner and stuff. This can get kicked out of position. Just keep an eye on that. It's a minor thing, but it's not like the most cutting edge implementation of this. The Bosch Active Line Plus motor is a pretty good motor. There's a little bit of a compromise here because they do of course have the performance line and several models of that. As far as Active Line goes, I'm glad they went with the Plus because it gives you 50 Newton meters of torque and up to 105 RPM pedal support. Measures all the same stuff as the rest of the Bosch line, which is rear wheel speed we talked about, pedal cadence, and pedal torque over 1,000 times per second with shift detection. So this is a very capable motor. It's one step up from Active Line, and it's my favorite. If you were to choose between the two, I'd rather pay a little bit more and get the Active Line Plus because of that, the extra torque. It's still very quiet and very efficient. It's smart. But I almost prefer performance line. But then again, for a city bike, if you want to maximize your range and keep it quiet, this is a perfect choice, and it just looks so beautiful. So I think that's a pretty good overview. A lot of the components and stuff. I think it comes with the flick bell, and I just, you know, I feel like with the hydraulic disc brakes and all it's basically feature complete. If you were going to commute with this bike, you wouldn't need to do anything, and you wouldn't be worried like, oh, my rack's going to come loose or the fenders are going to rattle. Like, no, they dialed it in for you. They made all the right choices. And now to the battery. This is where there's a bit of compromise happening. They put it right here versus here, which I think keeps weight low and centered, but they've also got, you know, a little bit of a trade-off in terms of the charging port. You see it right here. It's really low, and I think there might have been like a rubber grommet that fits into here. There's a little hole. You know, to unlock this, you don't have to bend over too far. You just, you know, it's right here like that, and you can do this and pull it off like this. Only 5.5 pounds because they went with the power pack versus the new integrated power tube. And this is backwards compatible, or forwards compatible, we should say, with the new PowerPack 500. So if you're someone who already has a Bosch e-bike and you have a PowerPack, you can use either battery, which is nice. You can charge this on or off the bike, but this is where the compromise is. That charging port is so low, and it's right there by the crank arm. There we go. See, when I turn this, it goes right in front of the charging port. So you're bending down, you're unlocking it. Getting it back on the bike is also a little bit tough because it's so tight. You really have to like push and make sure you hear it click. And they gave you the slower charger. So Bosch has 2 chargers. This is the 2 amp, very lightweight, like 1.3 pounds, but it's just not going to charge as quickly. And it's missing the other cable. There should be another cable in that box. I think I just grabbed it quickly from the shop. So, you know, nice proprietary charging port and everything. Good battery, but certainly not the best. It's not the highest capacity. You save, you know, less than half a pound on it, you're probably saving money. And they probably didn't go with the PowerPack 500 because you've got such an efficient motor, and you know, they are trying to balance things, trying to give you a good price point and everything. There's a lot of trade-offs and stuff. So next we'll get into the display. But before we do that, I'm going to try to show you what this is like. So you kind of fit it into there, and then you don't have to have the keys in, thankfully, but you have to push. There we go, and it clicked. I'm glad it worked with just one hand. I was a little concerned. This battery does have a little charge level indicator and stuff. Again, good position, not flexing the frame or anything, but a little bit of a step down in terms of capacity. So we put the battery on, and I guess I turned it on by pushing that button, which normally just shows you 5 little bars of how full the battery is. Oh yeah, cool. That's like a power button. Okay, the other power button is on top of the Purion display right here. So we press it, it jumps to life. This is one of the most basic Bosch display panels. They have another one called the Intuvia that's removable, and it has a USB charging port on it that's active. This one has the port, but it's not active. That's just for like software diagnostics and updates and stuff, which to me is always disappointing because I might want to mount my phone and, you know, use the large e-bike battery to keep my phone going if I'm using it for GPS. But again, this is only a 400 watt hour pack, so it's like, I guess it's not the end of the world. This is another cost savings thing, I think. Current speed, it's in kilometers per hour right now. If we wanted to switch that, I think we can hold minus and then tap power, and it goes to miles per hour. So we'll switch back, okay? And then we've got assist level right below. Right now it's just off, which means you could ride this like a regular bike and use the lights and have a little bit of feedback on how fast you were going. But we've got 4 levels of assist. So the first is Eco, I think that's 35 Newton meters of torque, Tour 40, Sport 45, and Turbo 50. Of course, this is going to be the sportiest feel, most active, and it's going to get you up to the top speed on this bike, which is 32 kilometers per hour, about 20 miles per hour, depending on your geography. That's sort of North America. I think it's 25 kilometers per hour over in Europe. Okay, and then down here we've got the same 5 little dots for battery charge level. Each one represents a 20% step, and then a headlight indicator, and I think the headlights are just set to on by default, but I just turned them off by holding the plus button, and that could be useful if it's like a moonlit night and you're like, oh, I don't want the lights right now, I want to, you know, enjoy the surroundings. So I'm going to turn this back on. Also has walk mode, so you tap that and then press the plus button, and the bike will just walk itself slowly. Very useful if you've got like a child seat or a bunch of cargo and you're in a park and it's a little busy. So I appreciate that they've got that going. And then if we hold this minus button, we're going to go from assist level to some other menus like trip distance, 23 kilometers, total distance, 30 kilometers, range. This is so cool. So range dynamically updates based on the level of assist you're in and how full the battery is and the last mile of riding. So right now it says 24 kilometers. I think we're in the turbo already. Yep. So if we take it down to eco, this is the lowest level assist. It says 63 kilometers. So, you know, this is going to help you get home without running out of batteries. And this bike is very efficient to pedal. There's no drag. There's no like regenerative braking or anything, but with a mid-drive, you're getting a lot of that mechanical advantage, and the possibility for extending your range is great. If you need to just step it down to a lower level of assist, you're still going to get that help, but you're not gonna run out of juice, which is nice because again, 5 ticks on that battery and infographic. It leaves something to be desired. It'd be much nicer if this was a battery percentage, which some of the newer Bosch kiosk displays and the smartphone hub, they all have percentage. So this is just sort of like legacy hardware that's, you know, gets the job done. I want to comment on these buttons too. Like when you push right in the middle, they don't really click as easily. You have to press near the edge because it sort of pivots down and sort of paddles down. So that's a quick tip from me, having seen and used this display on a lot of other bikes. I think it's probably a good chance to just hop on this thing and go for a ride. Again, I'm really trying to scrutinize it because it is one of the more popular bikes, and I think it's easy to just sort of gloss over the trade-offs. But really there aren't too many. This is a pretty good setup. So we found a pretty nice hill. Like this is a gradient all the way up. It gets a little bit steeper towards the end. I'm in the highest level of assist, and I'm in the lowest gear. So remember, there are 9 speeds, and even though it's just 11 to 36 instead of 11 to 42, this is still a lot better than 14 to 28 or something. And the steps between those 9 gears are smaller, so you're not going to be mashing gears as much, and you've got a lot of options for pedal cadence. So I just wanted to pedal up this and show you the motor and let you listen to it and get a sense for how capable this is. Even with 50 newton meters of torque, it's a mid-drive, so as long as you're leveraging those gears and you're starting in a low gear, it should be no problem. And that was very smooth. I'm barely having to work on this, and I'm sitting really low. I'm not getting good leg extension here because I kind of wanted to take photos of the smallest frame with a low saddle to give you guys a sense that, you know, those 5 frame sizes here, they're really give you a lot to work with for a bunch of different body types. Okay, so I'm shifting gears, I'm getting that shift detection. Yeah, it's easing out really nicely when I shift gears. It's not mashing. I'm going 21, 22 kilometers per hour, still climbing very capably. Now, this is a driveway, so let's imagine I had to stop. If I stopped without shifting down, see I'm up here in like gear 6, and then I had to start, and I'm a bit of an incline here, it's gonna be slow and kind of hard for me. It's real slow, it's not zipping out like it was earlier. So you can downshift, and we've got that 3 click, click, click. You can drop all those gears, and there we go. Just one of the trade-offs with the Active Line Plus is that the maximum RPM support of the motor is 105 rotations per minute versus 120 on the Performance Line motors from Bosch. So that's one of the trade-offs, but this thing is so quiet and efficient. It's lightweight, 7.05 pounds. And here we are. We made it all the way up this hill, and let's watch this. There's this person behind us climbing, really having to probably work a lot harder. You can see the whole bike is moving, really cranking up the hill. We didn't have to do this. I was in the seat the whole time, even without that full leg extension. Was doing pretty well. Are you okay being on camera? I'm just doing a bike.
That's okay.
Sweet, thanks. Yeah, see, she's definitely working a little bit harder to get up that, and she's getting full leg extension. So, you know, of course this is possible, but the beauty of an e-bike is that you can, you know, climb that without breaking a sweat, and if you're like me, you have the sensitive knees, not gonna be a problem. So now, let's see, I'm in the lowest gear. I wanna go off-road a little bit and show you how this thing sounds with the fenders and stuff. Suspension fork's giving me a nice little bit of comfort. See if we can do a little bit unstable off-road. I want to do the no hands thing. We're gaining on her again now. That's kind of fun. There we go. Yeah, all around great experience. Okay guys, well I apologize, you can't really see that 38 tooth chain ring because of this nice plastic chain cover. It's fairly minimalist, but it does protect your pants, which is wonderful if you've got the light colored pants like I do from touching the potentially greasy chain. And 38 teeth up here, just standard steel chain ring, nothing special, no narrow wide tooth pattern or anything, and really no guide. But you know, for sort of a city hybrid bike, probably not a big deal. Back here we've got that Dior Derailleur. That's a nicer part. I think it's like Tourney, Altus, Acera Dior, or Alivio Dior. Yeah, it's definitely, it's like 5 steps up. It's nicer, but this isn't the mountain bike version that has like a little clutch on it, which was surprising to me. And it's shifting really smoothly. It's probably going to be lighter, more durable than something lower end, and more precise, like 11 to 36 tooth on that cassette right there. 9 speeds. That's really nice. You'd be able to shift between those and get really comfortable pedal cadence options. Sometimes with bikes, you're like big steps, and your cadence changes dramatically. It's not the case here. I love that you can dump all the gears. You can dump 3 at a time if you're approaching a hill to give that motor a little bit more of a mechanical advantage, and with the shift detection, it's working great. One of the trigger shifters, though, up front, it's one direction, and that was the only thing about this drivetrain. I was like, oh, I wish it was the 2-way, because I like to use my thumb to shift both, and you have to use your pointer finger to shift this up there. So anyway, I'm going to start off, we're in the highest level of assist. I'm going to shift through, and you can just get a sense for this. And then I'm going to go off-road a little bit so you can listen for any rattling on the frame. Again, this is the highest level of assist, so it's the loudest it's ever going to be. Fantastic. Very quiet compared to a lot of the other bikes I cover. You know, the motor at the higher pedal rates, you know, higher cadence, you get a little bit of that ring, but this is the highest level of assist, up to 105 RPM. You don't really notice that much. And then going through the grass, the little metal support arm underneath the rear fender, not getting a whole lot of rattling. It works really well. It feels very solid. Even the frame, right? Like the frame flex thing is not much of an issue here. I think just the wider tubing and stuff, the way they've got the battery position, it's a great setup. Now we're in a really beautiful part of Vancouver, just riding back to the shop, and I thought I'd give you guys a nice little, just some extra fun. It's the no hands test over a speed bump. Oh yeah, feeling good. So we're gonna put those hydraulic disc brakes to the test going down this hill here. This is what we were climbing up earlier. And wow, what a fantastic view, huh? Look at this, just such a great day for a ride. Everyone's out and about. You can see the ski area off in the distance there. No problem. I think we could actually, we're like at the speed limit just on the bike right now. And way off in the distance, you can even see some of the snow for the ski areas here. Wow. Just fantastic. Hope you guys get a chance to go outside and do a little bit of riding. Really responsive. The Bosch systems are always, you know, some of my favorites. They start and stop so quickly. It's very intuitive, very comfortable, dynamic. Especially with, you know, Active Line Plus, it never feels like it's out of control or anything. Wow, look at this. This is a nice street too. Wow. Suspension. A little bit exposed on those headlight wires, but I guess that makes it easy to sort of swap that out if there's ever a problem. Oh boy, they got a lot of speed bumps in this neighborhood. Oh. Well guys, I think that's about it. We're just gonna head back to the shop and hand the bike off. So I found a little shady spot here and I wanted to show you what that headlight beam looks like. Now you can see it on the door. It's nice at points where you steer. It is mounted to the arch of the suspension, which means it could bounce up and down as you go over bumps versus if it was up here on the steering tube or maybe the handlebar. And I noticed that if I try to aim it down too much, it starts to collide with the top of the fender. And I mean, that's kind of high. Like I really don't know how down that would be if I wasn't, you know, I'm just pointing at a wall, right? So in some ways I feel like this could be improved because I might want to aim it a little bit steeper like this, right down to right in front of me. Again, it's not the perfect testing environment, but I wanted to point that out. And then there's a single LED on that rear light, so you know, this is kind of what you get, a little backlit action going on there with the display. And this is what the bell sounds like. I don't want to forget that. You know, it's not my favorite bell, to be honest with you. Like, I'm kind of reaching way over here, and then this is sort of poking into my thumb. So there's just minor things, and maybe I'm picking on this bike a little because you are paying more, and I consider this a little bit more premium option. But you know, coming back to the frame and the things that really matter, replacement bell, not a big deal. The lights, they still get the job done, and a lot of it is about being seen. And those little side cutouts really do a good job of that. So we're back in the shop, City Cycles, and I'm looking at a bunch of the Cube models here, and it seems like they really do a great job with the power packs. Like, you know, we obviously have some new power tubes, want to check some of those out, but I like their step-through design, and I really wanted to highlight, you know, we're on the 42, it's a little bit smaller. On the large frame right here, you can see how those seat stays are intact. They didn't chop them up to get that really low minimum saddle height, and we've got that quick release clamp, so that's kind of what's going on. And this is Doug over here. Hey buddy, how are you?
Good.
Thank you for setting up these bikes for me today.
Yeah, no problems. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, you do a great job, and I'm really impressed with just the diversity of bike products in here. How do you feel about Cube? Like, why do you carry Cube?
It's probably one of our best value brands. We've noticed that, you know, dollar for dollar, the quality of bike and the component spec that you get, in some cases is significantly cheaper than what you get from some of the other brands that are out there.
Yeah.
And it's been incredibly popular with our customers, and through word of mouth, they all talk about the Cube, which is kind of funny because they have so many different models, but the one that you were just testing is the one they're talking about.
That's the one they love.
The Cube.
Guys and girls, I noticed it's black, but you know, Mark was saying a lot of petite riders, which I'm assuming some of those are women.
Yep.
Are okay with the black.
And a lot of guys, once you get past 30, you stop being as self-conscious about riding a step-through bike, and you know, a lot of people realize that in an urban environment, a step-through bike is just awesome because it's easy to get off and on. Yeah. It's easy to ride, and they tend to be set up for riding in whatever clothing you happen to be wearing.
Right.
You don't have to get the spandex shorts on in order to go riding. You can just.
But you can if you want.
Well, you can if you want. You can if you want. You don't have to.
With that rear rack loaded, especially, I see a lot of people with the panniers and the, you know, basket for groceries, and then you can't swing your leg over, or you're going to hit your shin. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I appreciate that, and I agree. I mean, I wouldn't consider this like a value brand because it's still using high-end stuff. You still got Bosch, but for what you're getting, the price is considerably lower than some of the others.
Yeah, and we've also found that Cube step-through frame, compared to a lot of step-throughs, is one of the stiffest ones out there.
That's what I was noticing. Is it like the thicker tubing, or how they got the battery placed, or what?
I think it's a combination of that, and I believe that down tube is a triple cavity channel. It's an extrusion, and
you want to get the circular saw out? We could check. We won't do that. Too much. That's above my budget, guys. I'm sorry, but thank you so much. I really appreciate your insights, and I like to get the words straight from the shops, especially when you carry a bunch of brands, because you can be honest about it. And great job.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
No problem.
I hope this answers your question, and maybe introduces you to a new brand or a new bike model that's obviously really popular here in Vancouver, where people are flying around on bikes all the time. For the full written review, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. I've got like a cool comparison tool, so if you're looking at this and maybe some other product that's similar, you can kind of go back to back and get the weight and everything. Again, I was really impressed. This is, you know, just like 53.9 pounds or whatever for this one specifically. Not bad considering it has everything. So I think that's it. Love you guys. Ride safe. We'll see you in the next one.